Alright, well, let's see what happens as we jump on into this, guys. Again, it's best of 2. Everyone plays each other in 2 different maps here. Draws are allowed because it's just a big round-robin group. So that's how this is going to work out as we set on up. And we do have to the bottom right-hand side to kick us off today from Asterion Esports, our Blue Cross player, Harstem. And to the upper left-hand side, that red Terran player here is Ryung. Let's see what he can get up to over the next few minutes. Going to be a couple of TvPs to kick us off today, I believe. I think we're going to go for Harstem versus Ryung, then Harstem versus Keen. And then I think we'll start switching things up. We'll definitely see some Haas games today, some game time games especially, I'm sure, too. We're just going to try and, bring you guys as much as we can, basically. A whole bunch of different things. As mentioned, obviously, if there's 2 great matches going on at the same time, it can be hard to choose between them. But the benefit of that is that we can still then just get the replays and cast it a little bit later without you guys knowing the score. Basically, no one will know the score apart from admins and the players. So that's all kind of thumbs up and happy in that regard as we set up into this and just look to see how the openings will go here in the early stages of Odyssey for the TvP. Already stick your little SCV up top right, and also suggest something like maybe a factory coming down a bit out of location somewhere, or he just wants to sneak a scout in. We'll see what he wants to get going with that in the next few moments. What's up, Printer Hands? Hitting us up with a 9-month resub coming on through. How you doing? Get some Wardy hearts up in the chat, please, for Printer Hands. Thank you very much for the 9 months of love. Enough time to make a baby. Crazy. So many Twitch. I got so many Twitch babies going nowadays. It's insane. Can't even remember the names of them all. That's how bad a father I've become. As we set up into this. This factory's going to be about halfway done, and yeah, I mean, again, just hiding the factory top right. We'll see what he wants to do with it. It's kind of far away to do anything, really. Like, even if this is just going to be like starport and a mine drop, like, it's still kind of far away compared to being in the main base of the Terran. Like, it isn't that much further away. It's kind of not even really that proxied. So it's kind of weird hiding it up to the top right, and I wonder what we'll see out of it then. Is it going to be mines? Is it just going to be a cyclone? I mean, the starport looks as though it is going to come down here through Ryung, positions that SCV, and it's going to be a reactor on the factory. So he'll reactor out, I imagine, then Widow Mines, and he will just look for the Widow Mine-based drop play here in the early stages as Harstem opening up with this Stargate. Well, he will have some detection on his hands. With those Widow Mines start getting the chance to split themselves up and go in different directions, that's where the trouble will begin to arise, and that's where all of a sudden Harstem may very quickly run out of revelations to be able to cover all of the Widow Mine locations, and so on and so on. Initial Reaper at the front has been popping in, has just picked off a probe so far in the game. Well, that's been about it. Nothing too crazy or too ridiculous there. So there are the first 2 Widow Mines on the way out. And again, just to help you visualize this a bit, I guess, if you have the 2 Widow Mines lifted into the medevac, you drop one into the natural, one to the maid. Suddenly one Oracle only reveals one of those with a revelation. And by the time a second Oracle comes out, okay, that's cool and all, but then 2 more Widow Mines are going to be arriving with another medevac, and it really does become this issue of, oh my god, Widow Mines everywhere. It can become very difficult to deal with, so we'll see how Harstem will deal with this. For now, the first Oracle moves across the map. Obviously not ideal, because it means it isn't going to be in position to really help out here at all, as Ryung does load up and starts heading towards the natural expansion. So medevac heading in towards the natural, and Oracle heading across the map to see what it can find. Obviously there's not a lot at home for Ryung, but there is Marines. They should be enough to fend it off, just not in multiple locations. There's a depth shade out as well. Is there even a mothership core? There isn't. And so Harstem, playing a bit greedy here, is now going to be punished for it. As one Widow Mine burrows and the probes have to pull away, he will just sacrifice one to get back to mine and minimize the lost mining time here at least. Meanwhile, the Oracle hasn't done a lot. It picked off a single SCV on the bunker. And that's about it, as we see that second Widow Mine. Did this get picked off? Second Widow Mine just got picked off without doing anything. Okay, Oracle looks as though it picked up the kill on it. So that's nice. We see another medevac coming over, though. Now Harstem going to try and take a gold base, something which Ryung sees instantly. The depths have arrived across the map, but, well, I mean, Marines are here, and he's actually opening some more store because he really wants to pressure this. There's so many Marines we're going to be seeing. Widow Mine goes off again. 4 workers now killed in that one. Overcharge comes down, another Widow Mine is cleaned out as another one goes into the main. Harstem just can't keep up. There's Widow Mines everywhere, and with Widow Mines everywhere, he'll just keep taking damage. He's not going to break the front either. Let's see what's going to happen as we go into Mech Depot. Game 2 of this series. To the top right hand side, let's see if he can play this out a little bit better this time, have a bit better luck. It's going to be our Blue Protoss player, but it is Harstem. Bottom left-hand side of the map, the red Terran player is going to be the one and only Ryung, who has taken the first map of the day here on the stream. So getting set up, getting ready to roll, looking to see what's going to be happening over the next few minutes. As we'll just see Rax Gas from Ryung here early, looking to just expand in the early stages and just sort of go from there. Harstem probably looking towards a fairly quick expansion himself. I mean, no reason not to, unless he really just wants to try and start throwing out some of these cheeses or so. Which, I mean, against Ryung, I guess, is a possibility. It is something he could look to do. So it's definitely something he could look towards here. Is just going to be seeing this this gateway just going to be finishing up in a moment or so. Next, this will come down here as well. As the next comes down, just going to be seeing the, just going to be seeing the kind of the expansions on the way from both sides. CC will not be far behind it, and so again, both players open up, looking to see what's going to happen. CC does drop down. The early game looking pretty standard, pretty normal so far. Wardy on his question, what's my MMR? Right now, I don't really know. I haven't played for a little while. A few months ago, in around April, May, I was about 5.4k with Terran. And then I stopped playing it kind of in June a lot. I didn't play a lot throughout June, and I really haven't played at all throughout July or throughout August. So, you know, about high-ish masters, mid to high-ish masters Terran. Nothing too spectacular. My problem with playing is that I always feel as though my mechanics suck. And one of the best ways to play, to fix your mechanics is just to play a lot. It's very difficult for me to play a lot because I don't always have the time to just play the game all the time, you know? It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Just gonna see this Reaper still moving around. It is on the hunt for a probe, which is currently hidden top left. Twilight Council early in the game here from Harstem, setting up in towards this. Intrigued to see what it might give for him, what he might be able to do with it. I mean, he's positioning for a Dark Shrine, and there it is. It goes down. And so right away here, Ryung not spawning this probe even means that DTs could warp in across the map if a pylon is built. And so far, Ryung just has no idea at all. He didn't even see the Twilight Council. He's never been into the main base. So Ryung playing completely blind, although an Engineering Bay on the way up. He will want to play somewhat safely against at least Oracles, which is a bit more of a common way to open. And so if he's playing safely against Oracles, he will at least have some turrets to help out against the DTs. He's not going to be completely detectionless. That is, if he does use this Engineering Bay for missile turrets, he might just feel safe enough to bypass those. He might just be building an Engineering Bay just to sort of be able to build turrets when he feels the need to. As we see one turret on the way up right now. Just in the natural though, and if the DTs could get up in towards the main, well, some chaos could still be caused. And we're seeing obviously the reveal here from Ryung is a very defensive and sort of macro focused one anyways. The triple CC very early in the game, just looking to be very focused on getting into a very strong mid-game economy. Which is actually a little bit concerned for Ryung, because if these DTs don't do some damage, and this is what he's committed into early game, then he's really going to start falling behind, because while Ryung doesn't take much damage, he's also going to be just pumping out SCVs and getting further and further ahead, while Harstem is going to still have to build up his entire tech tree. So it's a bit of a tough one. Now, the other thing about triple CC against DTs is that energy is that there's going to be so much more energy than usual, and so extra scans, and so just in general, the CC is not going to be able, the DTs are not necessarily going to be caught, catching his run off guard or anything. To get up this ramp, gets blocked. Scan comes down, one DT falls, and the other DT will actually come in and just get himself 1 and 2 swipes. Nice little bits of damage done, knowing that you can get in there and get away before those Marines are going to be able to do enough to get the kills. So a couple of SCVs, not really what he wanted so far. Blink now starts up and a Prism on the way. Harstem's also able to start going towards his third Nexus. Thing is for Harstem, I mean, Ryung was blind, but Harstem is also blind. He doesn't know about how fast this third CC is. I mean, maybe he can recognize maybe the lack of factory-based units and recognize that the factory therefore has been built a bit later. Or maybe he just assumes they were in the main in case of a drop in the main or so. And so right now, Harstem doesn't have a clear read on what exactly is going on from his opponent. He really needs it though. He really needs to realize just how greedy the Terran player is being here just so he can react properly himself, you know, maybe cut a couple corners just to help himself get into that later game, help himself be solid in the mid to late. Prism coming across the map now as well. Obviously, as the Prism comes in, there becomes a bit more potential for those Dark Templar to come back into play and to do some more, you know, a few more bits and pieces here and there. Just going to see this Prism going in towards the main in just the next few moments. Marines and Marauders will come through in towards the third base to start to work their way through this pylon, and that will fall. So pylon goes down as this War Prism here. Again, just looking for openings, but the turret in the main is in a very safe position, and Marines nearby as well, not realistically a way to get too much damage done. He's trying to force a scan. Nice little pick up there as he does wander into turret range. Tries to force a scan. Now he's going to have to try and get away. Marines are chasing, and they do have Stim, of course. Second Stim will be available, and may as well draw. I guess he doesn't have to drop the DT, right? He can actually hit the out of bounds zone, or the dead airspace, I suppose, where that War Prism can now just sit for a little while. Not how he's been wanting things to go at all, though. His combat shield's on the way up. Concussive shells will be finishing soon as well. Couple more racks also about to finish, and just looking to see what the next stage of this is going to be on either side. It's one DT, man, swiping away on the supply depot. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Depot's going to fall, so yeah, another depot picked off right here. I mean, it's still just Harstem finding some damage, and you know, that's kind of what he needs to do, just find bits and pieces, and this is still one of his first 2 DTs that he walked in the game. So it's not like he's investing any more money into this, he's just finding more damage with what he's already built into, which I like. Again, it's things like this that will help Harstem out against what, again, has been that super greedy player for Ryung here so far. And we're just going to be seeing the Glaives on the way up, the Robo Bay as well. He's getting ready to transition into an even stronger kind of composition, as we would expect him to, of course, as time passes by. Get that next wave of splash damage up and into the army. So Harstem just going in towards all of that while Ryung starts up his Liberators, and he himself obviously wants to set up into a nice sort of strong position to play from here. As we're going to see, target fire is lacking a little bit on these SCVs. Against 2 so far. Some Adepts in the main for DT as well, going to try and do some damage. Picks up a couple Widow Mines already. The Liberator is actually going to start being sent towards the War Prism, which is a nice idea. Going to help to clean up here quite heavily, as you see a couple Stalkers warping in. And you know what? This Prism might just about survive. And now some extra Stalkers and Adepts in the main base. Ryung was completely out of position to deal with this initially, and now this next Liberator going to go down with only 1 or 2 shots being fired. And the continued warping of a Adept Stalker here. Ryung, well, Harstem just needs to make sure he actually keeps on firing with enough bits and pieces. Drop starts to come in on top of this, and the Prism will just start to move away. And you'll see the Stalkers blinking back to safety. I like this though from Harstem. Really felt like he got quite a lot done with just, you know, it wasn't 0 warpins. You know, he definitely warped in quite a bit, but it was a very minimal amount of units realistically, if you think about it. A few Adepts, a few Stalkers, they're not units you're going to miss from your main army, given how much damage you just dealt there. Picked off 2 Liberators is a huge deal, because keeping that Liberator count low stops the Terran player from hitting that critical mass, where all of a sudden, it's almost unengageable. I'm not going to lie, I did think it was going to be Colossi out of Harstem next, but it's actually going to be a Disruptor on the way up. So Disruptor coming through, looking to see what he can do with this. That could make things, it could change things quite heavily. There's another big warping of Adepts into the main. There's units here and Liberators on the way as well. We'll find the Prism now. Harstem will try and split these up as a big drop loads up from Ryung. He's going to look to try and do some damage here as well, as the Shade does happen. And, I mean, he'll get a few SCVs and then maybe a couple of other units as well, but it's not going to be that spectacular. Prism again still being chased means it will eventually go down. And Harstem still just build up into Disruptors, so Adapt, Stalker, Immortal into Disruptors as his choice of splash damage. Not going to play the Colossi. And here we go, though. 4 drops in the main. All of a sudden, it's going to be Harstem who's under pressure. Mothership Core's gone down. DT did start moving forwards. Actually pulled it back before the scan, which is nice. Some Adepts being sent forwards as well. Nice split away from that Widow Mine. I like this from Harstem. He's dealing with this well. You know, he actually sent very little forwards to deal with all of that, and he kept a good amount of army at the third base too, so this army couldn't push in. Harstem's army split in there was on point. He had exactly what he needed, and he pushed his opponent back without really too much trouble. Good micro to minimize the mine splash damage. He even kept the DT alive, which he'd warped in. When his scan came down, that was a really nice kind of preemptive pullback from Harstem. Yeah, I really like that kind of couple of moments there in Harstem. Sure as he definitely isn't just going to be walked over like he was in the first game. Definitely is going to be putting up a fight here, and well, Ryung has to fight. I mean, he's not in the, he's not in a bad position. He's not necessarily in a bad position. He's in a good spot, but he's not exactly in a spot where it's like, I'm going to win no matter what, you know. No, it's fairly, fairly unrealistic sort of way of viewing it right now. It's definitely nice for Harstem having cleaned up, pushed back those medevacs, knowing that Ryung's game plan now is maybe to try and keep on dropping a little bit or so. As a lot of units committed into the main base, though, which Ryung will now see. And so now Ryung sort of knows, well, you've got so much supply in the main. If I just join everything up together and push at the front, maybe you're going to run into some issues here. And that's one thing the Terran can definitely abuse, especially on this map. You push forwards, all of a sudden you can drop into the main out of nowhere almost, and you can do that much faster than the pros can turn back around and run into the main base. Liberators here initially took a little bit of damage. I love these force fields, though. Disruptor comes in a little bit late, but still hits the mark. You'll see an Immortal being lost. No, actually hits another Stalker, the Liberator. Thought the Immortal was going to be lost to the Liberator shots there, but didn't quite happen. But of course still position, but here's the issue. So easy for Harstem to, so easy for Ryung to jump up into the main base. So difficult for Harstem to get here in comparison. However, Stalkers, he reacted pretty quickly, and Stalkers come up, and every Liberator is going to go down. He gets a full medevac too. Harstem is holding on, and another blink forwards. He does get a second full medevac. All of a sudden, Harstem up 40 supply. He's been killed at the last few moments. He's made this defense work so well. He actually rotated up to the main so quickly. He really had, he cottoned on to the idea of what Ryung was maybe hoping to do. And so all of a sudden, Harstem is pushing across the map with an almost maxed out army against a Terran player who sat at 140 supply and struggling to find money to make much more. Upgrades are just slightly favored to the Terran, but not for too long, 10-20 seconds, and we're going to be seeing Harstem having tied up on those upgrades. That'll be 2-2 apiece. Obviously, eventually the Terran player will take 3-3 a little bit faster, but again, it's all relative to the kind of current situation, which is right now. But Harstem has the potential to move forwards and maybe do some real damages. A drop across the map again is getting shut down pretty quickly. Doesn't get shut down completely, but one of the medevacs dies. Adept's on the way in. Harstem is managing it. He knows what he needs to do, as we're going to be seeing the he's now rotating back towards these rocks. These rocks will drop, allowing Harstem access in towards this fourth base, which is a planetary though. Liberators have already unsieged and repositioned. Harstem just has to keep on thinking about how exactly he tries to push into this now. Drops down double Stargate. Obviously the idea of going in towards a fleet beacon and in towards Tempest is something which is a very realistic possibility now for him, just to have a way to deal with higher Liberator numbers. Defensively positioned Liberators are very difficult to deal with as the Protoss player, and generally as more and more Libs come up, you just cannot realistically fight on the ground because their DPS output is just so high, and so instead you need to focus more on the skies, and that's what Harstem is starting to head in towards. 2 Stargates on the way up, plus 1 air weapons. Didn't open with a Stargate, which is obviously a little bit strange, a bit weird. So he can't actually build his, the fleet beacon just yet. He has to wait for the first Stargate to finish. As we're just going to be seeing this army pulling back again. Harstem again, just poking and prodding, and I like it. Picking off little bits and pieces, just making his opponent keep on moving around. Never overcommitting into a fight, which is a bit like, well, maybe sort of thing. That's a bit of an interesting blink forwards. It felt as though he could get the Liberators, but the blink didn't really take him far enough forwards, and suddenly the Liberators were very safe, and the planetary focus was all that took some damage. Now the scan comes down. Fleet beacon on the way up again. Harstem taking this moment or two where he does have map control to just push up in towards those Tempests and build in towards that late game setup, which is going to now be so hard for the Terran player to deal with. As you see again, just blinking around, and behind all of this, Harstem sets up a 5th base. He gets ready for the next stages of this game, while also again just forcing his opponent to keep relocating, just rethinking about where he wants to be. Some Stalkers of depths and DTs to the south side now. Harstem potentially setting up a little bit of a surround here. So we're going to see who's the depths going to commit, but I'm not really sure why. Maybe he just wants to free up space for the Tempest. It's actually not a bad idea, as we see this army pushing through, and he will get a kill on the CC almost immediately there. Nice little pick off. Meanwhile, though, triple drop across the map, and Harstem about to lose the 4th base. Well, everything was going good for Harstem, but as soon as Ryung finds an opportunity, he makes the most of it. Now some work is going down on either side, but it feels as though Harstem will go off on the worst end of this. Stalkers will have a blink, and actually reinforcing Stalkers from the south side will come in to help get a kill on 2 of the medevacs, and that's again huge. Harstem getting some very good cleanups throughout this. Now he's just kind of making use of his units in multiple locations. This Disruptor, though, going off and not really connecting on anything at all. That's the sort of thing which Harstem doesn't want to go in his way. Throwing away Disruptors are kind of expensive. He is going into Colossi. First 2, I believe, are already out. No, he's actually only just going into them now. He's actually got Extended Feral Lance about to finish, which is why I assumed the first 2 were just coming already out and just hadn't realized it. But actually, first two Colossi are just about, really only just starting up. 2 more starports though from Ryung. He continues to build into air weapons as well. He wants this air fight, and I'm sure he'll start building up in towards Vikings as a way to help deal with the Tempest. A bit of a drop over here, but the Stalkers get rid of the medevac, and now DTs and Depths will join in to clean up, and Harstem is going to be able to secure that base to the bottom right-hand side of the map. 16 minutes on Mech Depot, and game number 2 is anyone's for the taking. Harstem coming up to maxed out again, as is Ryung. Players have got very comparable upgrades. Just the kind of attack upgrades on the sky, a little bit lower down here from Harstem. He is getting shield upgrades as well, so really committing into everything he can now. And again, the Tempest count, well, it's only a 2, but it's something. And sometimes all you need is a little something. However, Ryung is coming through the top side, and this has not been seen. And all of a sudden, Ryung is going to be with 4 medevacs in the main base. He's going to be able to start unload, and he's going to be able to start picking away at this pylon. The production in general going to be in trouble. The scan comes in right from the get-go, of course, to help reveal DTs that will be warped in defensively. Harstem has to send a lot of his units over here to kind of keep track of this. At the same time, an army pushing up the right-hand side, and Harstem is on a little bit of a timer to get back over there. Make sure you can clean this up effectively and efficiently. Stalkers moving forwards once more, but now the Liberators are sieging up in very dangerous positions here, where Harstem is not really going to be able to do too much about it. He's in this sort of position where, again, I guess this is where the Tempests come into a lot of use, right? But he only has 2 of them, and especially with the Vikings in play, it becomes very difficult to actually use these Tempests, because he just doesn't have a way to get, keep those Tempests safe for as long. Has to use the Stalkers, but 8 Vikings on the way. Harstem could really do with just, 4 to 6 more Tempests. I guess 4 more Tempests just so you can one-shot both Vikings and Liberators would be nice. But right now, not really happening. Doesn't have the time to go into that. Liberators and medevacs to the top side of the map as well. Ryung going to try and drop into the main base again here. Try and do a little bit more damage all over again, and just sets up. These units just sat to the side. Meanwhile, still is push at the front towards the 3rd/4th base. I mean, Harstem's already not mined from the 4th because of this. His income's starting to go down the drain, and Ryung is starting to really take advantages because of all of this that's going on. And obviously, over time, advantages like that really do start to prefer the player who's an advantage. That's the reason it's called an advantage. And again, right now, Harstem is a little bit stuck because he's got Liberators surrounding him from all sides, and while the pressure has led up to the top side of the map, there's still more medevacs coming over here. More Liberators too, which means he can actually start just leapfrogging sets of Liberators forwards every now and then. Vikings somehow don't actually get a proper volley off onto that Tempest. Somehow they don't find the kill right away, which I find somewhat amazing. Must have only been like 2 or 3 of the Vikings that actually fired. Liberators push on forwards again, Vikings. Seeing what they can do, but I mean, again, for a lot of the time here from Harstem, it feels as though he's just retreating away and tucking himself further into a corner. He loses 1 Tempest, starts to build another, but where's the progress, Where's he actually making where's he taking the advantage from? Is he going to see Lib siege up again? Here we go, this might just be it. Harstem blinks forwards. He'll try and target down Liberators, but the reality is, it's just not going to happen. Liberators stay strong, the Vikings clean up in the skies. GG played is called by Harstem, and Ryung will pick up a 2-0 in the first series.